What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another week on the Reel Down. This is your host, Garrett. This week, Jimmy's not going to be joining us. He said he might join us, so it'll be a surprise whether or not he does. But I'll be running the show tonight. We got some good stuff for you. We got first and second place from Possum Kingdom. So if you haven't heard about that event yet, you're gonna get all the juice about it. But that was a slugfest out there. So it'll be pretty exciting. Other than that, hope everybody had a good weekend. I might as well just get right into it because I'm excited to get to hear about this. So first on, we got from taking home the second place finisher, Joe Camareno. Um, Joe, how you doing?
Pretty good, guys. How's it going?
Good stuff. Well, let me hear a little bit about yourself for all of our listeners out there. Let me know how you got into kayak fishing and where you got your start, and then how you ended up at finishing in this, doing so well in this event. Like, what got you to where you're at now?
It I got into a couple online tournaments, and Brian Latimer actually threw a couple online tournaments, and I got
Yeah.
into his spring classic, his summer classic, and his fall classic. I was actually able to win all three of those tournaments and won a trip with him down to South Carolina to go fishing with him. So that was
No
actually
way.
pretty cool. Yeah.
That's
So
awesome, man.
after doing that, he had a championship in South Carolina at Hartwell. So I was like,
Yeah.
man, I kind of need a kayak. And I was borrowing my brother's like $500 little cheap kayak. And I was like, there's
Yeah.
no way I'm taking that to South Carolina. So,
I'll just go out
um,
there and whoop them in a Pelican.
yeah. So I went ahead and I made the commitment of buying a Old Town 120 with,
Awesome.
with the autopilot. And it was, man,
Yeah.
that's a game changer right there. So I'm used to fishing out of boats.
Yeah.
And that thing, I mean, that's probably what helped me do what I did at PK, to tell you the truth.
I can
Um,
see that. A lot of people say that like that boat is probably one of the easiest boats to transition from like an actual bass boat to a kayak if you're making
yeah,
that move.
I don't like sitting down,
Yeah.
so I stood up the entire time while I was fishing, even when there was, the party boats going by and, you know, throwing, 3-foot
Giant
rollers.
waves.
It
Yeah.
was, it took them like nothing, and I stayed there, and the two guys that I actually shared the spot with, they were kind of getting thrown around, and they were having to do circles, back and forth, and I was just in one spot. I mean, and um,
That
but anyway,
that's luck doing
that's
its job.
yeah, that was the key, I think, for my, for me, what, to do what I did. But
Yeah.
um, that's kind of where I knew I can catch fish at PK because that's one of my favorite, lakes. Since I'm from
Yeah.
Fort Worth, it's only an hour and a half from here. Um, so I decided to get in this tournament. I knew I could do pretty well. You know, um,
That's awesome.
the guys out there this time of year were catching pretty good sacks. So I knew the
Yeah.
fish were going to be biting. Um, we um, we I practiced like before cutoff time, and
Yeah.
I knew I had a spot, so I left that spot alone. And then on my official practice day, I was only able to go out one day, so I only practiced one day out there.
Yeah, during the,
Um,
like, 1 week window
yes,
that you got, you had
and I
so
actually
you got
went on a Wednesday. Where like I try
yeah,
to go like on the
off day kinda
yeah, like where it's
nobody's out there,
there.
hopefully. Yeah.
So, and I went out there and I checked one other spot, and it wasn't very good. So then I was like, okay, it looks like I got one other spot. So I had one spot already that I knew that I was going to be able to catch fish. I
Mhm.
was already catching about 24 pounds there a day. So
Yeah.
then this other spot I found, it was it was something different, and I was like, yeah, that's the juice right there. I think I'm just going to lay it all
Go
on the line and just go to this spot.
send it.
Um,
So it looks like it worked out for you.
it actually, yeah,
Before we get too far into the event, I wanna bring, Michael on with us so we can get to know him a little bit, and then we'll go into some deets about the day 1 and 2, how that went. So Michael, what without further ado, I'll bring you on. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Um, so tell me a little bit about yourself. How'd you get into kayak fishing, and what brought you down to the Bassmaster event, and
Well,
what had you?
I've always had a bass boat, man. I've been ate up with bass fishing since I was 10 years old. And my dad, he took me everywhere, all over the state fishing. And in 2012, I needed some money, so I sold my boat, and I went and
Okay.
bought a kayak the same day, man. I was in a
Yeah,
bind financially. I went and bought a $400 kayak off the wall at Academy the same day, man. And
that's awesome. I
never
mean,
looked
you got to
back,
do
you
what you
know.
got to do to get on the water.
Yeah, that's why I used to see guys. I felt sorry for the guys that were paddling, man. As I drive by all the time, I think, man, but at least they're out there. Well,
Yeah,
then I found myself, I didn't want to give up fishing, man. So, and I never looked back, man. A couple months after that, I went and got a better kayak, and then a better one, and a better one. And I
like the long one.
never
Didn't take
wanted to.
Joe's route where you just go straight to autopilot.
No, it took me. I've had a bunch of them, but it took me two kayaks to get to the pedals.
Yeah,
Pedal drive. That was back then. There wasn't any motor options.
yeah,
And then now I'm on my second Titan. That's what I use with the Spotlock Minn Kota. Motor guide motor.
yeah.
So I
That's a pretty
fish
solid
tournaments every
rig.
chance I get, man. I
Hmm.
can't travel too much because of work, but I do. I travel a couple times a year.
Yeah,
And I was ecstatic when I saw Bassmaster was coming to PK because I've done very well there in the past.
yeah. It seems like there's a lot of local anglers, or I mean, regionally local, that did well in this, and it seems like that experience really showed itself this week.
I think
Um,
so.
yeah, that's awesome. So did you get to practice any for this event, or did
Yeah, I
you?
did. I went to Saturday. I didn't get to practice before it went off limits, man. I was running back and forth to Texoma for another tournament, but
Yeah.
I see the Saturday that it opened up for practice. I went to where I generally fish, and man, I just couldn't even get a bite. Period. I just couldn't. So I come home and I caught me some stripers, came home and ate them, and got up the next
That's
morning, and
awesome.
I wanted to go somewhere I'd never been before on the lake, and I
Hmm.
picked two spots, man. And I was going to one of them, and some reason on the way when I made the left to go toward the boat ramp, I decided I'd go to the other one right in midstream,
Huh.
and I did, and the rest is history, man. That was a fortunate turn.
That turned out to be the one.
It did.
That's awesome. Um, well, I guess we kind of skipped over this, but uh, I don't really know much about this lake, I guess, and I don't know that a lot of our listeners do either. Can you guys give me like kind of a breakdown of how that lake sets up, and what kind of stuff you're fishing there, like what kind of structure or cover you're fishing?
Yeah.
The most that I know is that it from avionics, it kind of looks like it sets up more so like a highland reservoir,
Mm-hmm.
with some big bluff walls and steeper banks, and it looks like you got some standing timber and stuff like that. But other than that, I've never seen it in person or just seen pictures. So either of you can take the lead on that.
You want to, Joe? You want me to?
You go ahead.
Rocks and docks, man.
Rocks and docks.
That's the deal. And there is standing timber, and the timbers plays a huge role, especially in the summertime.
Yeah,
You don't necessarily see the timber; it's just under the water. It's a flooded river.
yeah,
It's a
yeah.
long riverine channel, and then there's creeks and bays. And I typically, when I fish those, it took me a long time to learn this, but when I fish those kind of steep lakes like that, no matter where I go, I find the deepest flat water I can find, and
Mm,
work from there instead of
yeah.
just try to fish the steep stuff. It seems like a bigger flat, no matter how deep it is, seemed always better for me. On those kind
Like
of lakes.
somewhere, I guess, like bait and stuff can kind of congregate in instead of just
Yeah, I
roaming up and
guess. Yeah.
um,
There's not as many stripers there for one thing.
yeah.
That's one thing, man. That lake's full of stripers, man.
Well, what kind of forage and stuff is on that lake? Is it typically like gizzard shad or
Yes,
threadfin
sir.
or yeah,
Gizzard shad and threadfin and plenty
Yep.
of brim.
Yep. Plenty of bluegill.
brim? Awesome. And crappie and all that good stuff too.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
It's a very, very live fishery, man.
It's a clear water lake too. It's
Yeah.
Clear
pretty.
water. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was my next question. What
Super
kind of
clear.
clarity?
I mean, it's clear for Texas. I mean, you go down and you go to the south end, you're going to see 30 feet deep.
God,
You know,
dang. That's
you go further up north and it's going to be a little dirtier, but
yeah.
it's still pretty clear.
It looks like a lot of like some of the Tennessee river or lakes that we have out here where they're just like super steep
Yes,
clear
sir.
water
Yeah.
reservoirs. But this one's pretty it looks like a pretty narrow lake, well, because it's river, but
Yeah, it's like a river
Yeah,
system.
it is. It is, man.
Big boat.
So when
big
all
boaters.
those wake boats get going, man, it's like a bathtub in there,
yeah,
man.
it just like keeps bouncing off of each other and everything.
And that makes them bite good too.
Yep.
In summertime.
I mean it's I guess it oxygenates the water and stirs it up and keeps
Yeah,
it
nothing can be still, you know.
yeah.
The bait's just getting washed around and the bass can't stand it, man.
Yeah, that's I mean that's a good point. Yeah,
That's exactly how I caught my fish.
yeah,
because
fishing
of
that
those
wake
boats.
boat pattern.
Yeah, pretty much. Fishing
That's
a main lake point, and every time those big party boats will come by, they're 3-foot rollers crashing up against these big rock walls, and there's timber down there that the bass are hiding in. And they'll push up the bait, and here come the bass. They'll come up and they'll blow up on it. So if you can't catch them up on top when they're up on top feeding, they're going to go back down into that timber. So just catch them out of the timber.
Huh.
That's basically what I did.
How did you end up figuring that out? Like, can you see him like on live scope or something, or
actually, I didn't run any
experience?
electronics. I didn't run any electronics on my kayak at all because I didn't have to.
Yeah,
because I already knew exactly what I was going to do.
that's awesome.
So there was no.
You don't hear
reason.
that a lot nowadays.
Yeah. So I didn't really have to have it. The two guys that I shared the spot with, they actually had it, and they were just talking. Oh, I can see him here. I can see him there. And I'm just like thinking in my head, like, be quiet, like don't see that. Don't see that. Like I'm hoping they wouldn't see this stuff, But they did. They saw everything, and that's what kept them there. And then the fact that I was catching some pretty big ones in front of them. So
yeah, I'll say that again. So, how did you approach like your day one? Like when you went into day, let's start with day one.
Okay. So day one, get to the boat ramp. We're waiting till 6 a.m. to take off. First cast is at 6:30. And I knew it was going to be about a 25-minute. For me, it was going to be a 25-minute drive, right?
Yeah.
So there I go. I get there with 5 minutes to spare, and there's already someone on my spot. He wasn't exactly on my spot, but he was a little to the right. So
did he? You guys all launched at the same time, right?
He actually launched from somewhere else.
Oh, okay.
So he launched from another boat ramp that was a little closer to that spot, but I had a boat ramp that was literally 2 minutes from my little cabin that I rented.
Yeah.
And he was staying by another boat ramp, which was only 5 minutes from where he was at. But it was going to take me an hour to drive to that boat ramp because Possum Kingdom doesn't have any bridges. So you got to drive all the way around the lake. So I was like, man, I'd rather just go 25 minutes on the kayak instead of driving an hour in the truck. So I get to the spot. There's a guy sitting on my area. I pull up, I talk to him, I explain to him, what's going on. Like, hey, this is my little area, where you from? And he told me he was from Nebraska. And I was like, okay. I said, well, I'm a local here. So
Yeah.
I just kind of wanted to let him know, like, this was my spot, like
Yeah.
I'm not,
This is kind of my juice right here.
yeah. Yeah. So, and I said, man, if it's fine with you, if you don't mind sharing it, let's share it. And he said, yeah. So we were fine with that. So he stayed to the right, and I set up in my area. And I mean, it was 3 minutes into our tournament, and we both hooked up at the same time. He hooks up on like a 3-pounder. I hooked up on a 5. And
Dang.
there was a guy literally 100 yards to my left, which saw all this. So here he comes running in, and
following that bent rod pattern.
Yeah. So he comes running in. He was like, "Hey man, I know it's going to sound a little sketchy, but I found this spot too during practice. I can show you the wave points, So if you don't mind, I want to fish here too." And I actually told him, I said, "Man, that's fine, but like, stay on that side." And the other gentleman that was there, his name's Marty Hughes, which I'm pretty sure everyone knows.
Yeah.
He kind of got like, "No, you can't fish here. This is my spot. This is our spot. Back up a little bit, And the other angler,
the crowd, I guess.
Yeah, he was like kind of coming in really, really hot. And Marty told him, "Hey man, you're pushing it back up a little bit, And so that guy was like, "All right, I'm gonna back up. So he backs up, and he's on my left. So now I'm kind of like sandwiched, and I'm stuck in the middle. So I can't cast to my left. I can't cast to my right. I can only cast
one little zone.
Yes. So it's like, whatever it is, what it is. I've got to measure this fish. So I measured that fish. This was all going on while I had the fish in my lap.
Oh,
yeah, happened that quick.
And, that's wild.
Yeah. So then I measured my fish. It was like a 21 something, and I'm like, okay, let him go. I cast back in there. I wind up catching another good one, and then Marty and this guy Nick, he's from Canada, he winds up catching their limit. They both caught their limit before I caught 3 fish.
Wow.
So they're tearing it up, and I'm freaking out. I'm like, oh man, these guys just are gonna come rob me on my spot. But they were catching like 2-3 pounders, nothing major.
Yeah.
But then Nick hooks up on a giant, like an 8-pounder, hooks up on this giant fish, fighting it, and I'm like, oh man, he's got a monster. And I see this fish come up, and he's only 20 yards from me. This fish comes up, big old head shake out of the water, and I see his lure just fly out of his mouth.
Oh no.
And I'm like, I was happy, but then I was kind of mad at the same time because he just lost a fish that I could have probably caught.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, okay, whatever, it is what it is. So I throw back in there, and then 10 minutes later, Marty hooks up on a giant. And Marty's freaking out. I mean, Marty's huffing and puffing. They're like, oh my God, he's fighting this fish. He's like, it's got to be a 25, 24-incher. He's going crazy. Gets him stuck in the trees and breaks him off. Or he got off. I don't know if he broke him off or got off, but he lost him. He didn't land the fish. So now I'm like 20 minutes in, and they just lost 2 giants on my
yeah.
So I'm like, oh my God.
Like, I don't know. That would kind of spin me out a little bit. I'd be like,
it did, and I was like, okay, I just got to keep my head down because I know I can get some bites in here, and I did. I wind up catching another 5-pounder. Wind up catching a 4, 3. So then they had their limit. I didn't. It took me a little bit to get my limit because they were picking them off, but I wind up getting all the bigger fish because I was throwing a bigger bait, and they were kind of finessing them.
I got you.
So they were getting the smaller ones.
So what kind of stuff was everybody in that area like catching them on, and like what exactly were they targeting?
I know Nick was throwing so Nick's from Canada. He was throwing a drop shot on 6-pound line. And he broke off on a really good one. And I said, you might want to just put that up. Like,
I'll bring that 6-pound line down here to Texas.
Yeah, so I think he wound up just not using that one anymore, and he still used a drop shot, but I think he upped his line. And I want to say Marty was using like a Nico rig most of the time, so they were kind of finessing them on spinning reels and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and I was just throwing, just a big Texas worm, a 10-inch Texas worm, Texas rig. So I was just dragging a really
a ribbon tail worm, or
yeah. It was actually a Zoom, and I'll give you some of my juice. It was called Tilapia Magic.
I've heard a lot of people say stuff about that
And
color.
that color right there was just the juice. And I only had one bag because they're hard to find around here. So you find one, you better grab them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I only had one bag, and I pretty much went through that whole bag that day.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I think on day 2 I only had 3 baits left. So then
I've been scrambling to some
oh yeah,
tackle stores
my
like every
10-inch worm before the day was over, my 10-inch worms were 6-inch worms because I kept biting the ends off and rehooking it.
Every little scrap of worm you can get.
Yeah.
Taking all the little chunks at the end of the day and gluing them together.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of how my day 1 went. And yeah, I mean, I wind up catching my limit, and then I actually I moved down 100 yards at one point in the day that I knew of another spot. And I told Marty and Nick, I was like, don't let no one in here. I'll be right back. I'm gonna go check this one spot real quick. I go check this one spot, and sure enough, on my first cast, I catch a 5-pounder.
Oh wow.
So I was like, okay. And then I tried that spot again, and it was nothing. There was nothing else there. And
so you pretty much stayed in that one.
Yeah, that's the only fish I caught. The only 5-pounder I caught over there that was on my board. Everything else came from that other spot. So it was.
So were these fish like suspended up in that timber? Or
no, they were on the bottom. They were glued to the bottom. And when those every 30 minutes in the morning from like 6:30 to 9:30, every 20 to 30 minutes they'll come busting up. I mean, busting up. I mean, I've never seen 6, 7, 8-pounders busting like that. And it's something, it'll freak you out. You know, Marty, they're literally 20 feet away from Marty. Marty's like freaking out, like, oh my God. He's not trying to throw something.
Frantically casting at them.
Yeah, that's how it was. And, you know, I got my worm on the bottom. I'm, 15, 20 feet deep. I got my worm dragging my worm, and then they start busting. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I got to reel in all the way before I get another line in. So I'm reeling in all the way, grab my crankbait rod or whatever, and I'm trying to bust them on top, and I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Because that's how fast it would happen.
Those fish are so hard to target, the ones that end up doing that. Like, it's hard to get them to commit to anything after I guess because they're chasing the real deal, and like, they don't want to waste their time with whatever you got coming by them.
Yeah. On day 1, the bite slowed down midday, and then I had told Marty, I said, man, it's gonna come back. They're gonna hit again. And around lunchtime, between 11 and 1 o'clock is when we got some other big bites. I wound up catching another 5-pounder, and Marty actually caught like a 7-pounder. It was like 23 and a quarter.
Wow.
So
I think when I was looking at some of the stats and stuff I saw about it, there was like over 100 fish that were 20 inches over, like 100 fish that were over 20 inches. 20
the crazy thing about it, I want to say 16 of them came from our spot.
Wow. That's a pretty solid. That's almost 20%.
Yeah. Between us 3, Nick, Marty, and me.
That's stupid. So it looks like you had 99 and a quarter inches on day 1. So almost 100.
I didn't get a big bite like they did.
Yeah.
Mine were just solid fish.
Yeah.
So I was kind of disappointed in that because I wanted to break 100 on day 1 because I knew I could.
I mean,
I did.
You were dang close.
Yeah.
And I think so. There was 3 guys, one of them being Michael here, 3 people that broke 100 inches, it looks like, on day 1. Yeah. 109 and 3/4 for Michael over here.
That's unbelievable.
That's a ridiculous limit. Then you had 105 and a half, and then 103 and a half, and then you had 4th with 99 and a quarter. But all the way down to, like, what do we got? 80 inches has you in 67th place. That's like almost, that's halfway down the leaderboard with 80 inches. Like, 80 inches is a pretty solid day, but not on this lake. So Michael, why don't you tell us a little bit about your day 1? I spoiled it a little bit, but
Yeah, it's all right. So I I I went to that place on Friday, man, and I just graphed it from every angle in the world to find the two little steeper spots, man.
Yeah.
And
Kind of pick
so
like a
I threw,
spot in a spot.
yeah, I did. I threw one cast with a 6XD and hooked a 7-pounder Friday.
Wow.
So I loaded up, man, and I couldn't
Yeah.
wait to get there. It was we had about an hour and 15-minute drive around the lake from where we stayed, man. So I have a travel partner that me and him stayed in the room together, and he was fishing the same general area, about a half or 3/4 mile away. And so we're the first two at the ramp, and I was thinking, man, maybe nobody found this. Maybe maybe we're gonna have
Yeah.
it all to ourselves. Well, then they started piling in, and it was probably,
Yeah.
I'd guess, 10 guys, man.
Wow.
And I'm the first one, so I'm there. I'm going to get to where I want to go,
Yeah.
And nobody ever got within a cast of me the whole
Wow, so
time, man.
totally
It was
different
awesome, man.
experience than what
It was
was
awesome,
happening.
dude. And the first, I don't think I caught one on my first cast. I think I threw a bad cast. Oh, I know I did. I got a big backlash on my first cast. Because it had rained and my reels were wet, and it just blew
Yeah,
up on me,
like
man. So
slip
I'm
out of
there
your hand, or
nervous trying to pick it out, and I get it, man. The next cast I catch I think it was a 21 incher, man, and
good
it
start.
never stopped. It never stopped till I stopped at 9 o'clock, man. It was every cast, 2 at a time, 3 times. It was just unreal, man. It was unreal.
That's a special spot there.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, man, that's never happened to me in a tournament. I look back in my life, and I fished a lot. I've been blessed to fish a lot, and all my best, most memorable times it came deep cranking.
Huh.
Just because it happened so fast.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason. And this
So
was
what do you
one of
think
those
made
times.
that spot that special? Like, what do you think had all those fish there?
It's a
What was
big
drawing them
flat,
to it?
man. It's a big flat, 20-foot flat, man.
Okay.
And it had
Yeah.
a couple steep sides to it.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, and it was lined with trees, man. Lined with trees out of like 20 to 25 feet was just solid timber.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, that morning, I wasn't expecting that morning. Here's what I thought I was going to do. I thought I was going to catch a couple first thing cranking and just drag the rest of the day and get what I could. That's what I thought. I was confident I'd have a good bag, but I mean, I put the crankbait up at 9 o'clock, man. And I never turned on my electronics. I didn't want any. So I'm a
Yeah.
believer that those big fish will take off, man.
Yeah.
I've
The
done
ones that
it at
are like
night.
conditioned to it,
Hmm.
they'll kind of
Yeah, I'm a
not hang
believer in
around.
that, man. Just from night fishing before.
Yeah.
So, man, I turned in I think when I put my limit in, I had 106 inches.
Wow.
And I said, well, I'm going to get off this spot. So I was just dragging a worm around, and one of my fish got denied. Oh no, I caught a 22 incher. So I put it in right then, but it was a bogus picture and it got denied, man. So I went up to
Oh
109
no.
something, then back to 106, and I didn't want to fish anymore. But I threw another cast with a plum worm up there to the right spot and caught another 22 incher at 10:30, man. And
When it's your
I
time,
mean, what
just
do you
do your
do,
thing.
man? You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
You couldn't
What
do
do
no
you do,
wrong.
man? It's just
Yeah.
unreal, man. And I
That's
lost, dude. There's a tree. It was kind of it was a very specific angle to get between two trees and still be able to hit the steep spot, And
yeah.
I lost 3 fish that got me in the tree, man, that were huge. One of them was the one I saw the best was a monster, and it stole my bait and everything, man.
Dang.
And any other day that would have messed me up, man. I
Yeah.
mean, that's a trophy fish, man. I've caught 10-pounders before, and this was in that caliber of fish, man. And but I couldn't even get upset. That's how good the fishing was. It was
Yeah.
just it was an embarrassment of riches. It's unreal.
I mean, that's a special moment, and I'm sure you'll
Yeah,
never
man.
forget that. That's
Never.
that's an awesome
And it
Awesome
didn't
deal.
stop, man. It kept on going. I was dragging the trees real deep at the, just to fish. I can't just sit there and guard the spot all the time. And
Yeah.
I'd get a bite every now and then, all over the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's just stupid, man.
Just stacked in there.
Yeah, man.
That's
When I
crazy
turned
that no
on,
one else found it either. Like no one
it
that
doesn't
you
look
had it
like
to
nothing,
yourself.
man. I'll tell you how I found out. I mean, there's no credit given to me here, man.
Yeah.
Dude, I was running around looking for brim beds, throwing a buzz bait.
Okay.
Here's what I thought I was going to do. I thought I was going to catch me a big one on the top water in the morning and then just go dragging these points and seeing what I could get as the sun got up. That's typically how I fish that lake, man. And dude, I'm trucking across there. It's 8:15. I'm trucking across this bay, got my side scan on so I can see what's up. I'm trying to catch the last of the shade on the other bank, man.
Yeah.
Dude, and I looked down at my side scan. About 100 feet beside me is the biggest school of fish I've seen since I don't know how long, man. And it was, I didn't believe they were bass. I thought maybe, I didn't think they were striper because they were sucked down, man. They weren't everywhere, So I thought maybe they're carp or something. So I went and turned around and came back. And sure enough, they were fish. And I just put a waypoint there, and I said, well, I'm going to go. I wanted to see, I've never been to this part of the lake before, and I wanted to see the entire thing. So I just said, I'll come back after the sun gets up and drag around and see. Well, dude, I make it. It's a long way around, man. I make it all the way around. I found me another spot like that, and then I found another spot that very similar. And so I was just going to make me a little milk run,
Yeah.
When I came around, dude, a boat beat me. There was 3 dudes in a tin boat with no shirt on, just hooting and hollering, having a ball, man. And they were catching them every cast off that spot, man. Just having a ball, dude. So I couldn't get on it. And one of their buddies, they stayed right there, man. They got a house right there. He told me, go get in there with them. I said, no, I'm not going to do that. So I went and tried this other spot that I graphed, and I caught a 6-pounder and a couple little ones off it. Then finally, I just hanging around because I wanted to get on top of that spot and graph it. So I did, man. They left, and I did. And, dude, I threw 3 casts and caught 3 great big fish and came home, man. And I got home, and it was early. I'm a daylight to dark guy.
Yeah.
And I got home, and my wife said, what, did it suck that bad or what? I told her, man, you won't believe me when I tell you. It's unbelievable. And I kept thinking, you always think something's going to go wrong. And I can't tell you how many tournaments I've spent dragging a worm out deep and weigh in 2 fish in a kayak tournament. I mean, it doesn't always work out, man, for me anyway. I mean, I often said fishing deep like that's a good way to weigh 3 fish in a kayak tournament, man. Because sometimes they just don't show up, and you can't check enough spots. It's not like when I had a boat, I can check 25 spots.
Yeah, you can you run to the next one, and they may be at one and not at the other kind of deal.
Yeah, exactly. It's a timing thing, man,
Yeah.
Anyway, so I couldn't sleep that whole week, man. I kept picturing that screenshot of my side image in my mind all week, man.
Like this
I could not
blue
sleep,
stuff
dude.
that we
And I went
back here.
I decided I was going to crank it, till they quit.
Yeah.
And dude, it was just when I didn't turn my electronics on to 10:30 that morning, but when I did, dude, it was like fleas on a dog all over the top of that thing. Just it was unbelievable, man. Just as far as I could see, man.
So I guess we're from what I'm hearing or gathering, we're talking like basically late summertime, mid or early summer type of patterns going on.
Early summer. Dude, in my opinion, in my part of the world, June's the best month to fish to catch a great big one and catch a lot of great big ones.
Yeah.
Because
it sounds like kind of like what you see at Chick or Guntersville in June, where all the fish start pulling off onto like a ledge.
Yeah. It's like they forgot, man.
Schools. Yeah.
They forgot that those things ain't real food out there, man, or something. I don't know. It's wild.
Well, the thing is, the lake's low right now, so a lot of these big boulders are sitting in and those bass are hanging on those ledges, on those big boulders. So since the lake is so low, those boulders are typically in about 6 to 8 foot of water, and now, or probably 10 foot of water, because now they're in 3 foot of water. So those bass are still there. So they're actually a lot shallower than you think. So
they stick up there.
Yeah, they'll just hang up on that ledge and wait for bait fish to come out. Once they come out all over that rock, they'll come up and eat them.
Huh. So is this a kind of a current driven lake? Is there current there, or is it?
I really don't think
stagnant?
it's current. I think it's mainly the boaters that make all the current out of there. But I mean, it's not like really like running like crazy. I mean,
no,
it's not like
they were pulling 100 CFS that tournament day, man.
100? Like
100.
Wow.
Well, that's zero. That's nothing.
I could turn my water hose on outside. It might be 100. Yeah.
Just enough to keep the river from drying up below the dam, man. That's
Wow, that's crazy. So, you guys both had some awesome day ones. I mean, Michael, that's probably one of the biggest day ones we've seen this year. Other than I think maybe Ewing had like 112 inches or something in Florida. That's pretty awesome. So going into day two, what were your all's thoughts like going into day two? Were you going to try to replicate that again, or try to switch anything, or how did that go?
So on day one, at the end of the day, when me and Marty and Nick were talking, we were like, if we're gonna come back, we need to come back and we need to be here first thing. We need to be the first ones here, because I already know people saw us, because we had people literally cutting in front of us, graphing our stuff. They were getting as close as they could when they were passing by, and I knew they were doing it on purpose. You know, they were trying to figure out what we were doing, because think about it, when you pass by and you see three guys literally just facing one direction
in one spot.
It's obvious. So I'm telling you, I'm 30 yards from the bank and I have guys cut in front of me. I'm like, really? Like you couldn't go around me? Like it was that bad. So we kind of protected our area.
Sucks to hear that that's happening now. But
I mean, that's the game. There's money on the line, man. So,
so that's the way it goes, man.
We made a pact, and we're like, okay, we're gonna get here and we're gonna protect this area.
Yeah,
you know. So I
said, gatekeepers of this little region.
Yeah. So and I knew that their boats were faster than mine.
Yeah.
So we made a deal to all leave from the same boat ramp. So me and Nick decided to make that hour drive to Marty's boat ramp, because it was only going to be a 5-minute paddle to the spot. Gotcha. So we made that hour drive in the morning, and we all left at the same time. But they still beat me because their boats were faster than mine.
Yeah. What were they in? Like in Hobies or something like that?
Yeah, and paddle drive. So they were able to like just muscle out there, you know. And I was, with my trolling motor, is just like as fast as they can go.
I think that Old Town can get maybe like 4.5.
Yeah,
like really pushing it.
Yeah, and these guys were, doing.
Yeah, I can 6. Get like 5.5 in my.
Yeah, these guys were flying. They were leading the pack, and they got out there and they set up exactly the same way they did on day one. Yeah. And I pull up. I'm the last one to pull up, and I pull up right in the middle.
Yeah. And your little zone in the middle.
Yep. And I told my wife the night before, I said, the only way I'm going to have a chance is if I get in front of these guys and start catching them first. Not like they did me on day one. I got to start catching them first. And catch the good ones. And that's exactly what happened. Boom, just like that. I started 5-pounder, 6-pounder. So I started bringing them in on day two, right off the bat. And I was like, it's happening. And I was like, I didn't have time to submit any fish. So I had 5-6 fish. I had plenty of fish already before I even submitted my first one.
Yeah.
And then Michael wasn't posting anything. So I was like, what's going on? Like, there's no way he's not catching them.
Yeah.
And I'm in first place. So Bass figured out that I was in first place. They knew exactly where I was at. So they come in their boat with their photographers, and they pull up and they're like, who's Joe Camareno? And I'm like, I'm right here. And Marty and them's like, this guy right here put on a clinic. And they're like, okay, well, we need you to catch a fish so we can get you on camera.
Oh, pressure's on. No pressure.
Yeah. So I'm like, you know what? And it happened perfectly, because I threw in and I said, all right. So they positioned themselves. I threw in and wasn't even 5 minutes in. And I said, there is. and I slammed him. And I think it was only a 4-pounder, but it was awesome to, you know,
I mean,
to get some
still a
good pictures.
4-pounder. What's that? Like a 19, 20-inch fish still?
I think it was like a 20 and a half. So,
that's a solid fish.
Yeah, he was a solid fish. So,
Yeah.
and
That's a good fish, like camera fish. Like you can tell.
it was a great fish. He actually got rid of like a 3.5-pounder that I had, like an 18 and a half, something like that. So it was actually like a relief for me. And you can see in one of my pictures where I'm like, like it was like, okay, I did it. I got my good one. So I'm like, okay, I'm good
and
now.
You got your moment of fame there on
the
camera boat and all that. That's awesome.
After that, we wind up catching more fish, and then I lost.
Burn it down.
I wind up hooking up on like a 9-pounder, and when I say 9-pounder, that it was a true 9-pounder.
Yeah.
He jumps up, big head shake. He's 20 yards from me. I fight him all the way to the boat. He goes underneath the boat, and I tried to push my button in time, and I couldn't, and he broke me out.
Oh, dang.
So then I retie, I throw back in there. I land a 3-pounder. Didn't help me. Marty's right there, and I'm like, Marty had just went around the corner and didn't see any of that happen. Marty's coming around when he hears me catching the other fish, and I said, dude, you won't believe what happened. I just lost a giant. And he's like, no way. And I'm like, yeah, man, I just lost a giant. And not even 10 minutes later, 15 minutes later, I hook up on a 7-pounder. So it was like, okay, I'm good.
Yeah, that'll get you right back on track.
Yeah. So it was just one of those days, man, where like I was in my zone and there was nothing that I had to do. Like I didn't have to go searching. I didn't even fish my other spot. I literally stayed in one spot for 2 days where it was so good. I mean, if you think about it, you put Marty's and my numbers came off the exact same spot.
Yeah.
And you put our numbers together, that's 398 inches in one spot in 2 days. Like it would have been cool if we would have hit 200 each. Like if he would have, he would have broke, if he had 198, I think he had 196 and I had 202.
Yeah, he needed 4 inches to get.
But even if he had 2 more inches, we would have hit 400 inches total, just me and him on one spot. That's kind of how it was.
That's like one of the definitions of stacked.
Yeah, stacked. That's why I'm saying, like, if I had that spot to myself, I'll be sitting where Michael's sitting, and he'd be sitting where I'm sitting. Well, I don't know because he caught some big fish.
I mean, he put on his own clinic.
Yeah, he did. It would have been more of like back and forth,
a little closer. Yeah.
Definitely.
So did you have to? I know you said you were running out of those worms. Did you have to change your bait?
I did change because I ran out and I wind up putting on. I'll go ahead and say it too because I'm
Yeah.
You could lead a horse to water, but he's not going to drink. If he doesn't.
That's how I feel about it too. So, it's like,
I
mean, there are some really good anglers out there though that will be able.
Yeah, I put on motor oil with red flake in it.
Okay.
A 10-inch. It was a power bait.
Yeah.
That's the only ones I had in my bag, and they worked.
They worked. I mean,
and they worked.
Job done.
They worked. So they actually got me some good bites. And I'll tell you this: when my worm bite slowed down, I did throw a jig, and I wind up catching a couple on a jig.
Okay. So you're mostly out here doing a lot of dragging, or
that's it. That's all I was doing was dragging. I was just going for those big bites.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool that it worked out for you 2 days in a row. I mean, you had 102 3/4 inches on day 2, which is
that's a good day.
Yeah, that's a solid. What does it say? 25-pound bag on Tourney X. I mean, that's an estimate. But
it was more like 27.
That's awesome.
27-pound day.
Yeah. I mean, this event being a kayak event is drawing a lot of attention from like bass boat events and bass fishermen in general. Just like how insane some of these limits and stuff are, and respectable they are, even for kayaks.
Michael was more in the 30-pound range than.
Yeah, I think on his day 1 it says 31.2 pounds for.
If this was a 4-day event, Michael would have broke the century mark on pounds. which is unbelievable. I guarantee you he would have.
Yeah,
I mean,
me or anybody else, man. It wasn't me, man. Believe me.
Oh,
yeah,
hey,
Just,
it's
it,
it's
it's just
it's
the
not
way
the
it was,
bow.
man.
It's not the bow. It's the Indian. So I mean,
yeah.
the
I
thing
mean,
is, I
and
mean,
you
you
and
did
it's an
everything right.
insanely good fishery. It sounds
Yeah.
like there's just
Yeah, it's good. That's the double-edged sword about putting the limelight on it, man. You know,
yeah,
it's just the traffic, man. The traffic. It gets plenty of pressure right now, but
yeah.
I've seen lakes burn out. I grew up fishing Lake Fork, man,
Mm.
and it used to be unbelievable. Where a day like I had the other day was pretty commonplace,
Average.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I
But
mean, you see that a lot, and a lot of people talk about that around here too, with like chick and
oh
gutter
yeah,
snake
that's
starting
another
to.
one. Exactly.
There's, I mean, sometimes they seem like they're fishing on fire, but a lot of times it seems like they've
Hmm.
kind of taken their lumps the last couple of years with
Yes, sir.
the amount of traffic that they're getting. And Kentucky Lake is another one that a lot of people bring up.
Hmm.
Uh,
I think
but
the carp got Kentucky Lake, man.
yeah, that too. Yeah, kind of a bad mixture of everything, but. Um, Yeah, once you go ahead and talk about your day too, you also had an awesome day too. But so did you
Yeah, I
go
did it.
into it with the same game plan as day one? I mean,
Exactly. Only thing I
yeah,
changed was my line, and I
yeah,
got there. Yeah, nobody messed with me. We had a little. There wasn't only 3 or 4 of us put in there. I guess everybody else didn't do good.
yeah.
And my buddy Matt Flett, he did good, man. He had a good day fishing a
Did
little
you have
further down.
anybody notice like that you were the one leading it at the ramp and say anything
Yeah,
to you
one
about
guy
it?
did, man. A guy named
Yeah,
Ian, and he didn't he didn't try to encroach on me or nothing, man.
that's good.
We had a talk with him. Both of us did right there, and everything was kosher.
Yeah,
When you
So
talked to him, did you have your knife out?
no, dude, this is the first time in I know what 4 or 5 years I didn't have to beat anybody off of me, man. It was
awesome.
I can't say enough good things about the sportsmanship that went on.
Yeah,
Nobody got close. The only ones that parked beside me were the dudes that lived on the point, man.
yeah.
Mm.
They lived there and they just parked right beside me and caught 10, threw them in a live well, and went and ate them.
They're like, yeah,
Wow.
these are my pet fish. I'm gonna
Yeah,
cook them.
man.
Yeah,
And I kept them off of the better spot. You know,
yeah,
I acted like I got hung up and went over there right beside them so they couldn't, keep myself between
yeah,
them and the spot. But the I was they called me the that guy Alex from Bassmaster called me and asked me how I, asked all the questions, did an interview, asked me how I thought it was going to be tomorrow. And I said, well, man, I'll get 5. I'll get 5 big ones. I
yeah.
don't see how a million fish can just take off.
Yeah.
Well, dude, I go out there and the camera boat comes and they got to watch me catch a Gasper-goo, and that's all I caught. At
Huh,
10:30, I had 2 sand bass, 2 Gasper-goos, and a channel cat. That's all I caught.
dang.
And yeah,
Where'd
man,
they
I hadn't
go?
even had a. I don't. Well, I guess they went a half a mile down. So, man, I went and checked this other spot. And it's the same thing. I could see them milling around in the top of the trees, but they weren't up on top eating, And I didn't see much gizzard shad, so I just said, well, I'm just gonna go down the bank and get a limit, man. And I'm trucking down through there, and I snuck behind my buddy. It turns out he already had like 97 inches, and
Dang.
he let me go behind him, man.
Yeah.
He allowed me. He didn't have to do that, man. He allowed me to go behind him, and it was every cast back there, man. And I from 10:30 to 11:30, I think I caught 18 that I took pictures of. And they were incrementally bigger.
Yeah.
And so I put my limit in, and I don't remember what I had, but I think I was in the lead at that point by a little bit. Dude, then I went back. I just said, all right, I can take a breath now, man. And I went and sat back out there, and it was every cast from then till time to go, man. They were
Wow.
there. Every cast. I got tired of cranking. My hand was aching. So I just started dragging a Carolina rig, and I swear, if I could throw the right cast, it was a fish every time, man.
Huh.
It's unreal.
So when
And I
you're
look at,
throwing the when you're cranking down through there, are you like speed cranking or do you
yeah,
kind
as
of like
fast as I can reel it, man.
Yeah.
What it was, I was throwing up on top. It's like 10 feet. I'm throwing it up on top, and I wanted to bring it. The rest of it kind of tapers out to 20 feet, but there's two steep spots. Like, I don't know if it was the drain washed up against the bank or what. I don't,
Yeah.
Anyway, I wanted to hit that spot, man. And when it popped off, you're grinding, then it popped off.
Mhm.
If I could get it down deep enough, one would snatch it just about every time, man.
Wow.
Just about every time.
So you're kind of grinding it through that 10-foot zone, and then just as soon as it pops off of there, just like going down, diving it as fast as you can get it down.
You feel like
Are
you
you
ran
throwing
into
any
a.
kind of like
Go ahead.
pauses or real twitches or anything
Well,
like that into it?
Yeah,
or?
man, it was wild because every now and then, man, it's something would knock the water off of it. If it lost traction, and then I
Yeah.
would just jerk it a couple times, and one would smash it, man.
Wow.
Like it was going to get away from them. Usually, you're just reeling down through. The whole thing was to get deep enough. When I popped off that ledge, the whole thing was to get deep enough without getting hung in a tree, man.
Yeah.
And so I drop my rod in the water sometimes, man, and that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So I got further back till I got a longer cast. I can get it. I tried everything, but man, you're just reeling through
like
there.
Long line or anything like that?
Oh, I didn't have to do that. It wasn't that deep, man.
I'm
I'm sitting in 20 foot of water.
Yeah.
And I can get that bait down to 18 usually with 12-pound line. Man, and but you're just, man, dude, they're up there feeding, man. You want them, just to see something burn by,
Yeah, not give them a chance to look at it.
No, there's competition
to
going on. They were.
Yeah.
You always hear about them dudes talking about getting the school fired up. They were fired up, man.
Yeah.
And so I reeling through there, and it feel like I ran into a cinder block, man. Just get real heavy, and she found out she was hooked, and she shoot straight to the top and try to throw the bait.
Wow.
Every time, just 20-foot boomerang shot right to the top, man. And half of them throw the bait,
out of the water.
Yeah, man. And those big ones, they can't get all the way out, man.
Yeah.
They just waller, just.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was fun.
Man, you had
an
awesome day 2. So you had 100.5 inches at the end of the day. That was enough to put you, well in the lead. 8 inches, 8.25 inches over second place Joe with 202 inches. 210.25 and 202. That's crazy that 2 anglers broke 200 inches in an event.
It is.
I'd be kind of mad if I broke 200 inches and still got second.
Yeah, I know, man.
You know what? I was, and here, the God honest truth, I was extremely happy of what I did. All I wanted to do was place in the top 5.
Yeah, myself.
Going into this deal, that was my goal, was the top 5.
Me too.
I didn't even think about winning the tournament. And then when he pulled off on day 1, I was like, I got to do good to at least get in the top 5. So that was my goal. And then he kind of
happen, dude.
He kind of fooled me in the morning when he wasn't catching no fish and wasn't posting anything. I was thinking in my head, I was like, man, maybe he's just holding off, trying to just
sandbag
at the last minute just to hit everything, and then boom. He beats everybody, but he was actually not catching fish in the morning, which was surprising.
No, I wasn't, man.
Yeah.
Well,
I guess they were down. I don't know. There wasn't any shad, and at the back of this big drain, it's kind of a little bit steep. It goes back there. It was full of fish when I made my way back there, man. So I guess that was the same school. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
And I got a question for you. Did you have any like blow ups in the morning? Did they blow up on anything?
Not one time, man. Not one time.
So
I saw some stripers come up and get something off the top a couple times, but they're not once, man. I never saw them.
See, and did you have any boat traffic going through there?
Man, I didn't have nearly enough.
We had
a lot, man.
I mean,
I didn't. I mean, I had, dude, the second day, man, when I went out there was a couple skiers and wake boats making their circle in there, and that helped it, man. Yep. That helped it tremendously. It makes them get out of the tree, man.
Exactly.
Everything's,
like sloshing
That
around?
morning there wasn't nothing, man. There wasn't nothing the first morning either, but I just think it was an anomaly, man, just how much fish was there. It was,
Wow.
you know, it was just crazy.
There was several times where I had it, I mean, literally yachts going by, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to turn my kayak because if
Yeah.
I get hit with this 5-foot wave, it's gonna knock me over.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, man.
I'm watching this wave coming in, and I'm seeing it roll over, and literally rolling over with white caps. I'm like,
Wow.
okay, I'm gonna have to face this one. So I would turn my kayak to face the wave, so I hit it face forward, and
Yeah.
water would go right over the front of my yak. So
Yeah.
it was, those are the only times that I really had to turn. But other than that, I pretty much stayed put where I was at because those 3-foot, 4-foot rollers were fine. I could just roll right over them. But those 5-6-foot rollers with those big yachts going through,
Yeah.
you got to turn. Marty would go hide behind a wall. he would see this big wave coming, and he would take off.
I'll tell you something stupid I did this weekend. I was on Pickwick, and the boat traffic got insane about noon, and I wasn't paying attention. I was texting somebody or texting and driving. I had my motor on full throttle, and a giant wake from a wake boat was coming right at me, and I wasn't paying attention. I went up and over and like nosed into a wave, and the motor pushed me further into it. Jimmy was with me, and he said I had water up over the rails on my Hobie.
Oh man.
Almost sunk that thing, but it popped right back up out of there, and it all like drained off of there eventually. And I was like,
good times,
God,
man.
Jesus.
Yeah.
But
I mean, that's how it was over
I'm
there.
glad you guys survived the boat traffic. I would have been trying to wave somebody down, like, hey, come do some circles over here.
Man, I was wanting it bad. I was wanting it.
Yeah.
I even told the camera guys, man, I got to have something stir this up, man. You know, wind or something's got to stir this up, or I'm going to sit here and die on the vine, man.
Yeah. I mean, I go back to that. I can't remember where that was, but it was an event Ott Defoe won on the MLF. It was in
Athens.
Texas.
Lake
Yeah,
Athens.
yeah, and he had those guys driving through there, and he's like, "Go do a couple more laps through there." And,
stir them up.
that's the only place I hear about that happening, because most people out here are like, "No, we don't want this wake traffic out here. We want the current. Is what we're looking for."
Just everything gets complacent, man. You know,
Yeah,
it's hot, and they're, you know, the shad are here and the bass are here, and everybody copacetic. But the minute something, you know, stirs those shad up, the bass, they can't help themselves, man.
yeah.
You know? It's just ingrained into them.
It's not like that all the time. So there's plenty of times where we hate the boats going through there because the fish aren't biting, and we're getting beat up by waves. But then when the fish are biting because of the boats, we're like, okay.
Come on through. Yeah. we'll give you this one time. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Man, that's awesome.
Yep. Earlier in the year, I don't like the boats because it stirs up the shallow water. You know, I like to go top water fishing and all that, and especially on that lake, man, it muddies us up real bad on the you know, where the brim would get
I do hear about like people in this region at least that like whenever that starts happening, that smallmouth. Well, I guess you don't have a lot of smallmouth, but smallmouth will get up in that mud on that bank, and where all the stuff's stirred up, and like that's where they'll start feeding at in the middle of the day.
Oh wow.
But I think the guy that finished in 4th place in this tournament, he was catching them on the glide like that in the mud line. I've never done very well at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tricky fight to figure out, and it's very dependent on boat traffic too. So, so you don't get a whole lot of opportunities to try to chase that. But man, this was a crazy event. I mean, on day 2 you had 4 anglers with over 100 inches, and then what are 80 inches heavy on day 2? 45th place. So it's like some giants.
Crazy, man.
So this is probably going to set the standard for what a slugfest should be considered.
Rightfully so, man. You know, I fish every tournament I can, and my goal on an average time when I hit the boat ramp is 85 inches in the tournament.
Yeah.
I figure if I can get me an 85 inches, I can breathe and see what I got to do to catch a big fish.
Yeah.
So I was mind blown, you know, what happened that first day, man.
I mean, that's just stupid. That's all ridiculous. I mean, 85-inch average on this one would have had you with 170 inches in 30th place.
Wow. That's crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
You know, Lord willing, I'm going to fish a tournament on Belton this coming Saturday, and I will take 85.
Yeah, you be
Oh,
praying for
I'll take
85
it.
inches.
I'll take it,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, that's wild. The tail of two lakes for sure.
The crazy thing is on Monday, on Memorial Day, instead of going to practice, I didn't want to because I knew the
Yeah.
lake was going to be full of boaters.
It
So
was, man.
me and a couple of my buddies, we went to the Brazos River on the bottom of the dam. We
Oh, I
went
see.
down there and we just floated through, just went down the river. And I want to say I almost broke 100 inches on the river. I caught like
Wow.
I was catching 5-pounders like nonstop. Like, what's going on? Like, I was literally catching, like, if you check my Facebook out, you'll see the 5-pounders that I was catching. It was just like, wow. Like, I just literally just caught like 98 inches on the river.
What do you guys think makes that place like such a healthy reservoir? Like what?
There's 3 reservoirs on that river and the
Yeah.
river in between, and it's all dynamite, man. It's just absolutely
Mhm.
all of Lake Whitney. You can go do the same thing, man, right now.
Yeah.
If you found the right spot, it's just
Wow.
So the Possum Kingdom, the Brazos goes all the way to Whitney, and then from Whitney it goes all the way to Austin. I mean, it travels pretty far, and it's all the same body of water. I mean, there's double digits in the river, which is insane.
Yeah, I've heard of that before, and it's kind of crazy to think about fishing a river and catching double digits.
Knee deep water, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
You can see them, man.
And it's cool too because there's smallmouth in there too.
Yeah,
there is.
I've heard of that. And, I mean, there's not very many places in Texas you can catch smallmouth.
Exactly. You can catch everything in the Brazos. You can catch spotted bass, Guadalupe bass, smallmouth, largemouth. And stripers on that river, which I usually do that a 2-day,
like an overnight float.
Yeah, an overnight float where we camp Friday night, we camp Saturday night, and we get out on Sunday around 2:00.
Awesome.
And usually the second day is the best day. And when I went and did that one day and I turned around and went back, I mean, I had an awesome one day. So it was like, imagine if I would have went down another day, I would have tore them up, because most people that do the river, they don't fish. They just float it and they just go by, it's
like a recreational.
I just like to take my time and I fish. And I mean, last September, I caught an 8-pounder last September floating the river. So it's amazing.
And I need to make my way out there sometime. You guys are killing me here.
Man, you contact me and we'll go. We'll do the river. I know Marty wants to come down and do the river with the son, so we're gonna make plans to do that.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah,
I'm looking into getting a new river boat. Well, I mean, I got my pro angler, but that's kind of a hoss to get.
Yeah, we average about 30 fish a day when we go out there.
Wow,
which is fun.
Yeah, that per person or per
person. That? Yeah, per person.
Yeah, that's a solid trip.
Yeah.
Dang. Well, we're kind of getting towards the end of our show here. You guys got any sponsors or any loved ones or anybody that helped make this happen for you that you want to thank?
I don't have any sponsors. I'm new to this game, but I would like to thank O-Town, for having an awesome boat. Spot Lock,
and a lot of money won out of that boat. Specifically this year too.
That was, I think, a game changer. If it wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't have done what I done. That honestly, that's really the only thing that I think helped me do what I did. Besides my wife dealing with me and putting up with what I do. I'm in a bass club, so I like fish monthly tournaments. So I missed my meeting tonight to do this, and so I'll have a tournament this Sunday. And I don't know what lake we're gonna go to. I'm hoping it's PK, and we can repeat it all over again. But
I appreciate you putting that off to come on here.
Yeah, those guys are not gonna want to vote PK if they know that I'm whacking 27 pounds out there. So they're probably not.
They listen to this. They're like, no, we're not gonna deal with that.
Yeah. So,
Uh,
but
that's awesome, man. Michael, how about you?
I just like to thank Jesus and
Yeah.
the Father God, because at the end of the day, this is just fishing, man. You know,
yeah,
that's the way I look at
Yes,
it. I'm
sir.
fortunate to be able to do it, to live in a time where we have the means and we're not at war. We've got the means. I can go buy a boat. I'm worried about what graph I have. I don't take any of that for granted, man.
Yeah.
I give credit where it's due. And my
It's
wife and my
important to keep it
brother,
grounded.
yeah, man, I do. I don't. That's just. I wasn't always like that, but now I've learned, man. I've learned the truth, and I'm
Yeah.
grateful for that. I know where I'm going when the deal here ends, and I couldn't be more grateful.
Yeah. That's
And
awesome,
I,
man.
my wife and my brother, they allow me to. We got a air conditioned business, and it's hectic this time of year.
Yeah.
And they,
I bet.
man, my brother, he fights it for me to get me time all the time, man. And I couldn't be more thankful to him and my wife. She never gives me a hard time, going 3 or 4 days here, a day here, a week here. She never gives me a hard time. It's not like that with everybody, and I realize that, so
Yeah.
I thank both of them.
can you have my wife talk to your wife? Because
Yeah,
Can you give me some tips here?
if y'all
How
got
I
time, I
treat
can tell
mine?
you one story though. One time, I think it was in when I first got into kayak. Man, I was fortunate enough to win a tournament of champions on Lake Fork. I've been
Yeah.
gone all week, right? I get home and those guys want to go to Lake OHIV. I stay one night and I take off to OHIV. And when I got back, it was not cool, man. I'd been gone for like 2 weeks straight. It wasn't
Yeah.
cool then, man. She
I
set
can
me
only
straight.
imagine.
She set me straight, man.
Oh, I'm
Ever
losing
since then,
my
I
mind.
know there's a balance. We have responsibilities, and we take
Yeah.
care of them. And our loved ones are fortunate to let us do what we like, man.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, having that support staff is really a good thing to have
Yes,
in your
sir.
life. Well, good guys.
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys coming on. It's been awesome talking with you. I mean, this was a
Yeah.
crazy event to cover. It's something special. I
Hopefully,
mean, this is
hopefully I'm
gonna
back.
be.
Hopefully I get to
Yeah.
fish a couple. Fish the championship. Hopefully I do pretty good in there.
Yeah.
And
What do you guys got next coming for you guys? You said you're running the Bass Club, but you got any other big kayak tournaments or anything coming up?
Well, there's one in Belton on Saturday that I think it's a double dipper.
oh wow,
To be
Okay.
honest, oh yeah, it's like the Jackson Kayak Series. It's that
Okay.
one, and I can't remember whoever. I don't know. I better get signed up, but that's what I plan on doing, man.
yeah.
And
And
then
Yeah.
let's
Well,
see.
keep it rolling.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
yeah,
you got
I
to.
want to. I
All
want
right.
to get in the game. I want to, get on this trail and start doing, the Bassmaster and start traveling a little bit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it's,
It's a big
work always
commitment.
gets in the way. So I mean,
Yeah.
it is a big commitment, and like I said, I don't have any sponsors, so if everything's going to come out of my pocket. So
Yeah.
it's like
It does.
you got a full-time job. My wife's a teacher. It's like, man, like
It's hard to make that. You have to make a little bit of sacrifice somewhere to be able to
yeah.
Yes,
go
sir.
off on that whole
But
trail.
I'm definitely going to be around. So
Yeah.
I think this is I got the bug now for the kayak
Yeah,
trail.
I bet. Yeah.
So
I
it's
would
kind of like,
after a
man,
weekend
I
like
kind of
that.
want to prove a point. I don't want to be like a one-hit wonder, So
Yeah.
I want to want to show everybody that I actually can fish. So
Hey
I
Joe, we
mean,
got DFW kayak fishing, man. We got one coming up. Jump in there with us.
I'll look into it, and I probably will. I mean, if it's
North
around here,
Texas. No, it's North Texas Kayak Championships. Just look at
okay,
it on Facebook, man.
yeah.
It's
definitely.
I
a
mean,
I'll
it's
reach
a
there's
out
good
to you.
size. It's a good size
all
thing.
the Texas clubs. I hear good things about the
Yeah,
kayak
Duke runs
clubs
it,
out
man.
there.
It's a good show, man. Duke and
Yeah.
Tracy, they run it. They have for many years, and there's a lot of us that fish it, man. It's good times. Good times, man.
And they got some big turnouts in a lot of those
Yeah,
events.
we
We
do
cover.
sometimes.
It seems like almost every week we've got one that we've talked about or mentioned. That's like 100 so anglers and
Yeah.
giant
Yes,
limits and stuff.
I
I'll say
forget where
this
we're.
right now, like meeting everyone there, and like everyone like didn't look at me like, oh, he's just a local that caught, he knew where to go, blah blah.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that. They actually were like, man, good job, like you actually tore them up, you did, awesome.
And
So I
that's
mean, there
something
were
I
some
think
really good people
you
out
gotta
there.
remember too. At the end of the day, it's like a lot of these people you're competing against are some of the literally the best anglers in the country.
Yeah.
Like going down that list, like there's some freaking hammers in that. So you didn't just beat all the Joe Schmoes, I guess, that you like. These are like the top of the line. But I mean, fishing in Texas, you're always fishing against those people anyway.
You know, leaving the boat ramp, I felt like I was just the average Joe because everyone smoked me. That was like the last one back. I actually have a picture.
I get smoked too, man.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I've never won a race, man.
In a Titan, you're not going to beat a whole lot of people.
I've never
either.
won a race, dude. I just say a couple prayers that my spot is there.
Yeah, that's how I was. I was like, oh, I hope no one's there, but it worked out.
That's awesome.
It sure did, man.
I'm sure we'll see. We'll see more of you, man. This is just the start, especially if you're just getting started and already putting up this kind of stuff. I mean, the other thing is you did this 2 days in a row. Like if it was a 1-day event, you may be more. But 2 days in a row to do that is pretty special.
I appreciate
that.
Awesome.
Congratulations to both of you guys.
Thank you very much.
Well, it was good having you guys on. I've got some other events that happened over the weekend. I'm gonna go over here. You can stay on if you want. I can put you in the background if you just want to hang out, or I'm gonna go through a few of these. Let me get this page pulled back up. Here we go. Yeah, it looks like we had a lot of other events that went on over the weekend. I fished one or two. Nothing. I mean, a lot of stuff that did have some pretty big limits, but nothing like what Possum Kingdom was putting.
Yeah, and you know, and I'm curious, like, because I'm new to this game, so me fishing, like I fished in a couple like little tournaments on the river here in Fort Worth, is the Trinity River, and I can put up 90, 95 inches, no problem. There at the Trinity River. So I was thinking that was pretty average.
I wouldn't say a region around the country. Maybe for Texas, yeah.
But not that wins. 95 wins every tournament, man, except this last one.
Yeah.
So I know a couple years ago I fished in a backwoods tournament and I wound up getting third. I caught like 93 inches out of my buddy's yak. I literally the night before the tournament, I said, "Hey, let me borrow your kayak real quick." It was, man, I think it was a pelican. And like it was literally a pelican. And I said, "Let me borrow your kayak. I'm gonna fish in this kayak tournament real quick because I know I can catch 90 something inches." So I went out there. I caught 93 inches. I got third place. I cashed a check, and I was like, "This is pretty easy. Like I can do it." Like, and then my buddy said, "Hey man, why don't you come fish with us?" And I'm like, "Okay." So I fished 3 tournaments with them, and I want to say I got second twice and third once.
Wow.
So and I would have won one of them. But I had a 21 incher flip out, and I didn't get to take the picture, and I had to cull him with the 18 inch fish.
Dang.
And I lost by like a half an inch or something like that.
Sounds like you need to fish more tournaments, man.
Yeah, I think you need to get into some of these clubs around you.
I'm definitely going to. I'm gonna talk to my buddy because my buddy just bought a new yak too, and he's definitely wanting to get into it. So.
And I think you'll meet a lot of good guys in those events. I mean, there's that community is pretty close knit, tight knit, and there's a lot of good people in that.
I think
it's fun, man.
Yeah,
it's fun.
Oh, it was a blast this weekend. I'll tell you that.
I think there's a couple on here that also happened in Texas. Most of these are going to be Midwest stuff, but I think there was Oklahoma on here. Yeah, there's something else. Yeah, the sporting challenge in Yountis, Texas. That's over by Lake Fork, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So I'll start going through these. So we had there's a lot. So I'll start the 2023 Grassroots Bass Yakin Brush Creek Reservoir, number 4, Butlerville, Indiana. This is a multi-day, single-day tournament. So there's 5 days, and you can pick one day to fish it. 32 anglers, 5 fish limit. First place was Jason Merritt with 81.25 inches. Second place was James Miller with 75.5 inches. and third place was Scott Rowe with 70.5 inches. So quite a little bit different than what you guys had.
It's all relative, man. It's all
yeah.
relative.
Fishing's not always great. That's the thing. Like,
Yeah.
there's plenty of times where we go out there and we don't catch, we don't catch 5. So, I mean, fishing's fishing,
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Then we had the Mid-Atlantic Kayak Bass Fishing 2023 Rappahannock River, Port Royal, Virginia. This is 28 anglers, 5 fish limit. We had first place was Sterling Trey Leach with 89.5 inches. Pretty solid day. Second place was Dennis Campbell with 83 inches. And third place was Justin Largan with 81 3/4 inches. That's pretty good for a
Those are
river
solid
event.
days. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of people don't realize like what 89 inches is, what's 90 inches. They don't realize in weight what that is. You're
Like 89 inches is like a 16, 17 pound bag, somewhere in
17
that
pounds.
range.
you
Generally.
do that
Yeah.
in any tournament, you should be there. I mean, that's a good day.
That's killing it in a lot of these regions too. So the next one we had is the Kayak Anglers. It's a long one. Kayak Anglers Western Pennsylvania, Kayak Anglers Northeast Ohio battle at the border. Pymutening Reservoir in Lindsville, Pennsylvania. Dang, there's 109 anglers in this event.
Wow.
5 fish limit. First place was Scott Hopkinson with 88 inches. Second place was John Klein with 84 inches. Third, Chad Foster with 83 inches. Yeah, that's a pretty good days. I mean, that's a lot of anglers too. That's a big event. That was almost as many as Possum Kingdom had. I think there was
It's
another
gotten
one on
very
here.
popular, man. Very popular
Yeah.
sport now.
Yeah, there's a lot of people getting into it. Let's see what we have. What else do we have here? 2023 Indian Buckeye Kayak Fishing Trail Series, Russell Point, Ohio. 44 anglers, 5 fish limit. First place, Jim Thacker with 82 3/4 inches. Second place, Sean Skidmore with 82.5. Third is Brad Lehman with 81 inches. Pretty good days in Ohio there. I heard a lot of bad things about Ohio fishing.
Me too.
Outside of like Lake Erie and stuff.
Yeah.
It's not on my
They're really-
list of places to go.
Yeah. But 82 inches is a pretty good day still.
I think so.
Then we had Danny and Will's Cast for a Cause in White River, Indianapolis, Indiana. This is a charity tournament for the Project Healing Waters. 2-person team tournament. They can choose to fish 1 day per angler, so 6 fish limit between 2 anglers. They can do boat, kayak, canoe, drift boat, or any other craft capable of navigating the White River. 63 anglers, 6 fish limit. We had first place is Tyler Atwell with 103 inches. So took them 6 fish to get close to you guys. Second place was Alex Deno with 102 inches. And third place was Nathan Pickering with 98.5 inches. It says it didn't indicate who teams consisted of, but those were the finishers in that. And after that, we had this one's actually a pretty good one. I've been up to this place before, and I've wanted to fish it again after I left. But this is the Michigan Kayak Trail stop number 3 on Burton Mullet Lakes in Indian River, Michigan. 60 anglers, 5 fish limit. Jeremiah Kraft with 100 1/4 inches. Well, it was a tie for first place. Second place was Adam Drabick with 100 1/4 inches. And then third place was Joe Camareno with 99 1/4 inches. I'm guessing they had a big fish tiebreaker. I don't see what that was on this.
That's good fishing there, man.
Yeah.
I'm guessing those are mostly all big smallmouth.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, on those lakes. from what reports I've heard is that the smallmouth in Michigan are starting to spawn and do their thing. And they're dumb when they're doing that, so they're easy
Footballs,
to
yeah.
catch. Yeah, and they're giant.
That's
So the next one we got here is the tournament I actually fished was the Southern Mid. It's the Tennessee Hammers event, which is a multi-club event with 4 different clubs in the area. We had the Southern Middle Tennessee Kayak Anglers, Tennessee Valley Kayak Anglers, Kayak Bass Fishing Tennessee, and Central Tennessee. There was 60 anglers, 5 fish limit. First place, this was on Timms Ford Lake, sorry, in Winchester, Tennessee. So first place was Josh Stewart. No surprises there. He's obviously a Tennessee Hammer. He earned it. So he had 90 and 3/4 inches, and he also took home big fish with a 21 and a half, I believe.
Oh wow!
Second place was Terry Bowman with 87 and 3/4 inches, and third place was myself with 83 and 3/4 inches.
Boy.
Congratulations, man!
Nice.
Get to gloat a little bit on our show.
Yeah, do it.
There you go.
It don't happen all the time.
And it was
Did
fun.
you just call yourself a hammer?
So what lake was that? What lake was that at?
That was on Timms Ford Lake. It's
Okay.
just south of Nashville. It's a highland reservoir essentially.
I've heard about it. I've never been there.
It's a pretty lake. There's a good shad spawn going on that morning, and I had some frustrating times. I had caught one on a spook, I missed one, and had one break me off. And I'll go ahead and tell the story. It's kind of long, but I had one break me off. I guess I had like frayed line on my braid. I didn't retie. I was dumb.
Join the club, bud.
Yeah. So I retied another spook and threw back in there and caught a 17-inch smallmouth. And then as I'm measuring this fish, I put it back in the water, and the other one jumps out of the water with the spook still in its mouth, and it was like an 18-inch smallmouth.
Wow.
And I was like, dude, what the hell is going on? But I tried to get over to it and like maybe try to get my spook back and try to help that fish out, but he swam off with it. He still has it somewhere. I went back through there later that day to hope that maybe that like it just floated up, like the spook floated up against the bank or something. But
so they say they get rid of them, man. They'll get rid of it.
Let me ask you this: Are you a one bait guy? Like you buy one bait and then one bait of this, or you buy multiple of the same baits?
Multiples. So this was I'll go ahead and put another plug in here. So this was a Yozuri 3DB pencil bait, and I'm sponsored with Yozuri. So I've got a shit ton of them in my box. Yeah. So I've got like 20 of them that I carry with me.
Yep.
That little bitty one?
I always try to keep 3.
This was a long one.
Okay.
I tried throwing the smaller one too, but for some reason the bigger one was the one.
So those smallmouth will hit those bigger
Oh
yeah, they will. And I mean, I've caught smallmouth up here on glide baits and stuff too.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, it's fun. And you'll get a lot of followers and stuff too. If it's the right time of year and all that.
Yeah.
They'll hit big baits. I won one of our big bass events on a Huddleston.
Oh wow!
With the smallmouth.
With the smallmouth.
Yeah.
What did that? How big was that one?
It was a 19 3/4 inch smallmouth.
Yeah.
Like it probably was like 4 pounds or so, somewhere in that range.
That's crazy.
Smallmouth is fun, but yeah, they will hit big baits. But I had to fish on twice that tournament to put up a bigger limit. I had one that wrapped me up in a tree and broke me off, but happens. Still glad to take home third in that one, but man, we still got a few to go through. We'll keep trucking here. So we had the 2023 grassroots bass yakking on Raccoon Lake in Rockville, Indiana. This is a multi-single day event. A lot of these multi-single day events happening in Indiana. I don't hear that happening too many other places, but they have to start picking up on that. So they picked one day to fish between June 5th and June 1st and June 5th. 35 anglers, 5 fish limit. First place was Steve Martin with 82 inches. Second place, Jason Kennedy with 81 inches. And third place was Wyatt Guard with 80 or 77 and 75 inches. That was hard to say for some reason. Then after that, they had another event, the 2023 Grassroots Bass Yak and White River, Indianapolis, Indiana. Another multi-single day event. 44 anglers, 5 fish limit. First place was Josh Trenko with 87.5 inches. That's a pretty good day for that. That must be smallmouth up there on the river. Second place is Jim Bailey with 81.5 inches, and third is Antoine Hayes with 81.5 inches. So I think this is our other biggest event that happened was the Moyak Fishing Series 2023 Stockton Lake Kayak Bass Tournament in Stockton, Missouri. 88 anglers, 5 fish limit. First place is Mason Brock with 84.75 inches. Second was Chris Robbs in 82 inches, and third was Lando Mitchell with 81 inches. Then we had the Minyak Bass Fishing Elite Trail stop number 1 in Madison, Washington Roadrunner, Madison Lake, Minnesota. 43 anglers, 5 fish limit. First place is Cliff Buck with 91.25 inches. That's pretty solid.
Yeah.
Second place is Danny Lee with 90.25 inches, and third place was Jake Kaiser with 87.25 inches. 87.25 inches. Then we still got a few more here. Bear with me. I know this one's running long. 2023 Moyak Team Series, Stockton Lake, Stockton, Missouri. 2-man team tournament. Best 6 fish per team. Largest 5 bass will be scored regardless of team member that catches them. 14 teams. First place was Everhart's A team with Chris Robbs and Chad Davidson, 99.5 inches. Second was the Burrito Banditos, Brian Hillman and Troy Enke with 97.75 inches. And third was the Rock Crawlers with Sam Young and Jonathan Dominguez with 96.5 inches. Those are some interesting names to come up with there. Then we had the Natural State Kayak Anglers, Central Lake DeGray, Arkadelphia, Arkansas. 35 anglers, 5 fish limit. First place is Sean Daly with 79.25 inches. Second was Hope Wofford with 79 inches, and third was Brad Hammond with 78 inches. Alrighty, then we had this one was a pretty interesting sounding one. It's the Patriot Sporting Challenge in Yontas, Texas. It's a shooting, fishing, and golf challenge to provide educational opportunities to the families of fallen and disabled heroes and first responders. That's a pretty cool event. So they had 38 anglers. I'm guessing they were on Lake Fork, and that's what's close to there. But
most likely,
38 anglers, 5 fish limit. First place was Jeff Sanderson with 100.25 inches. Second was Josh Neal with 97 inches, and third was Mike McWhorter with 91.75 inches. They also caught a 24-inch bass for big bass.
That's a big one.
Yeah, that's some good one. I mean, it's typical Texas numbers. It sounds like.
It's mind blowing.
Yeah,
Like I just can't think. Like I don't really realize how like people realize. Like I don't know. It's just like Texas bass. I don't know why they're longer or they're bigger, but
yeah.
like when you
it's just like a special
yeah,
combination of.
but I would think Florida would have just as big. Or
they do.
just as
Oh
long.
yeah.
You know, I mean, I fish
Um,
in a lot of online tournaments, and there's a lot of guys in Florida that put up some really good numbers.
They got
oh
them,
yeah.
man.
You know,
Yeah. They
116
definitely.
inches.
I
So
guess it's just like the Florida strain and
It
stuff
is
in general. That
yeah,
long
and
growing season.
yeah,
We got to, we're down south.
yeah.
yeah, and that I mean, yeah, that's true. They get a lot of opportunity to get bigger and stay feeding, whereas like up north they'll kind of slow down in the winter. But
Mm-hmm.
you say that, and then you look at what Cayuga's doing right now.
Woo, isn't that something, man?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Well,
insane.
that would be a blast, man. That
Yeah,
would be a
that
blast.
I mean, it's not the same numbers and stuff, like over 110-inch limits and stuff, but tons of 99 and 100-inch limits going on up
I'll
there.
take it. I'll take it all day. Twice on
Yeah.
Sunday.
Well, that and you can mix in some big smallmouth in your limit
Yeah,
on
right.
that spot. On that
See, that
limit.
would be cool to catch smallmouth and largemouth in the same day. Man, that would be awesome.
6-pounder, man.
Yeah, like 6, 7 pounders. I
Amazing.
think someone caught it on that. I don't know if you guys watched the Major League Fishing stuff,
I
but
did.
yeah, what was his name? He caught like a 614.
Brandon Coulter did yesterday, didn't he?
Yeah, like a
Or-
612 or something. I don't remember.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
Uh,
Oh, last year I think somebody, yeah. Oh, eBay caught one that was almost 8 pounds, man.
yeah,
Yep.
Smallmouth.
Dakota.
seven, seven,
That
eight
is
or something.
nuts, man. That's
Yeah,
nuts.
that's stupid, but that's a special place in its own, and that's
It's
definitely
on my
one I'm
list,
gonna.
bud.
Yeah,
That is on
it's
my
definitely a
list.
bucket list place. Where was that here? Oh, okay, yeah. So we got
Yannick's.
uh yeah. After that, we got the 2023 Oklahoma Kayak Anglers event, Central Roadrunner, Wawoka, Oklahoma, Roadrunner event for Holdenville, Kanoa, Sportsman, Prague, and Okima. I'm not
Hmm.
sure what Roadrunner event means, but that sounds pretty interesting. They had 84 anglers, so it's a pretty good turnout. 5 fish limit. First place was Randy Crearson with 97 3/4 inches. Second place was Jeff Weisbrod with 92 3/4 inches. And third was Colton Blakely with 92 1/2. Solid bags. I mean, I'd take that.
Me too.
Here's one from Washington that had some pretty good limits. This is our last one, other than Possum Kingdom. Um, 2023 Washington Kayak Bass Fishing Tour event, Lake Whatcom in Bellingham, Washington. 42 anglers, 5 fish limit. First place with Garrett Harrison with 94 1/2 inches. Second place was Kevin
Dang.
Frank with 94 inches. And third is Dan Walker with 92 inches. Man, that's
That was a shoot off.
Got to
yeah.
be smallmouth, huh?
I don't know. I mean,
I
I've heard
don't
of big
know.
largemouth
I fished
in
against a
Washington.
guy in
Is it
Washington, and
really?
he was catching them with largemouth.
That
Yeah,
right.
and
Yep.
one of my buddies that I used to fish with, he caught his PB in Washington. It was like a 9 1/2 pounder.
Is that right? I had no idea, man.
That's what I'm like. You never know, like what states they
Yeah, on
got
that
stocking
online
programs.
tournament that I was fishing in, I had a guy up there. He was from Washington, and he was catching 6 pounders, dude. And I'm like,
Hmm.
what in the world? How's there 6 pounders out there in
Yeah,
Washington?
I
Fish
guess
10 years
they've got
old,
a
man.
lot of trout eaters and stuff up in that region.
Oh, there you go.
So I guess that helps get some
Yeah, right.
bigger than average fish growing. When they have to stock them though, I don't think they're natural to that region.
No.
I see.
Um,
That changes
but
things.
yeah, but they got those little protein snacks with the
Mm-hmm.
trout running around. So the last on our list is one we just talked about, Possum Kingdom. We got the two winners from that sitting here with us. And third place was we already went over first place, first and second place, 210 1/4, 202. Third place with Marty Hughes fishing next to Joe. That's awesome that you guys like shared a spot and were
Yeah,
able to
he's a good
have
guy,
the
man.
sportsmanship to work
Like,
that
I,
out.
I think I made a friend for life with him.
It's even
That's
cooler
good,
that
man.
you guys shared that spot and both finished top 3.
Yeah.
That's not too often you hear that happening.
No.
it's usually one of them burns it down, the other one
Yeah.
struggles, kind of deal. But that's cool that there was enough there that both of you guys. I mean, like you said, you almost put up 400 inches between the
Yeah.
two
It was amazing.
in one spot. But after that, I mean, we had 23s and 24s all over the board. I think when I was counting it, I think there was like 16 fish or so over 24 or over 23. That's
Yeah.
like, Jesus.
2-footers.
Those
Yeah.
are 8+ pounders, man.
Yeah.
That's insane. So
It's insane.
we'll probably hear more about this lake in the future. I mean, that's probably
Yeah.
going to be one of those times where it's starting to pop off and people are going to start putting the spotlight on it for a minute.
I would imagine what would happen if the elites came to PK.
I don't know.
Like that
Like,
would be insane. That would be.
I don't know if it's big enough, man.
Yeah,
Dude.
it's may not be. I
But
mean, they may have
even if
tossed
it's
it
not-
around for like a classic or something. Though,
But yeah, maybe because I mean, yeah, it's a 3-day event. So I
Yeah.
mean,
the
like-
ones that I could see that maybe come there, that if it's not the elites, would be the MLF events.
There's not really a big facility to host something like that, but I'm sure they'll work around it. You know.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the MLF events.
I hope they don't.
A lot of smaller reservoirs.
Yeah,
It'd be okay with me if they never do it.
Keep them off of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm all right with that, man.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thanks for coming on with us tonight. Thanks for sticking with me through the rundown.
Thanks
of
for having me. I appreciate it, man.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah,
Nice
it was a good
meeting you.
time. Yeah, it was nice meeting. I hope to get to get out to Texas sometime and come maybe fish the Brazos, or that sounds like I need to get to Possum Kingdom.
Give me a holler, man. I fish around.
Yeah. If you guys are ever in Tennessee, come through. I'm in the Nashville area, but I travel around Tennessee quite a bit.
I was in Tennessee a 3 or 4 months ago with the Chickamauga. That was my new favorite lake, but it did me dirty. But I just love the way it laid out, man.
Yeah,
it's cool.
I
man.
was at that event, so I was right there.
Cool
with
place, dude. It's a cool place.
Chickamauga is definitely one of my favorite places to fish. It's got a
yeah,
little
it was
bit
a
of
real
everything.
cool.
Current, but it's one of those places that's got a ridiculous amount of pressure.
Yeah, man. Those fish know what's up, don't they?
Yeah, like just the Tennessee River chain in general is just like. So I went on Pickwick on Sunday just to go play around and try to ledge fish a little bit. I got there an hour before dark, and when I was driving to the water, I passed over the water and I was like, is there a bunch of buoys or something out there? What's all those lights? Daylight comes around and I realize there's at least like 30 boats sitting on the water ledge.
Oh, wow.
Like,
I've been to Pickwick before too.
Wildest thing I've ever seen.
Pickwick's on my list to go to.
I love it.
It's
we
a
had
cool
a
lake too.
Great time.
There's some cool stuff there.
It's got grass, or it had grass back then.
Yeah. It's still got a little bit of grass. And there's a lot of big smallmouth there.
Big ones, yeah. I didn't catch a big one, but they're there.
Yeah. I think my PB smallmouth lengthwise came from Chick while we were down there over in March. I caught a 20-inch smallmouth below the dam there. It was like
my PB came from Texas, man. So. I went to Tennessee a number of times, and my PB's from Texas, smallmouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
That's something.
That's great.
Lake Texoma's got them, man.
Oh yeah.
It's got them. It's got them good.
Well, I mean, anything that you got there is going to grow. I mean, everything's bigger in Texas.
Yeah, Lake Belton down where I'm going, it's got smallmouth. I've never caught anything over 18 inches there, but they're there. You know, there's guys that know how to do it.
Speaking of Chickamauga, I think that's maybe the next event that we're covering if it's still going on and all that. The KBF is going to be on Chickamauga this weekend.
Are they still a thing, man?
Yeah, they're still around. It seems like their numbers have been falling off a little this year.
Yeah, that's why I asked. I think the more I love those, I just love having a real appreciative of the opportunity to fish for more money, man. You know?
Yeah, it's awesome that there's a lot out there now. There's a lot of options and there's a lot of good clubs.
Man. I'm lucky. I live right in the middle of a good, long-running tournament organization, and you know, it's it's welcoming to everybody. So it's good competition, man. You know.
Yeah, that's fun. It's always a good time.
But I like those big national ones too.
Yeah, especially when you're taking everybody's money.
Yeah, that doesn't happen much. Believe me, I've given enough.
Yeah, knowing that they all drove, I mean, some of them drove like 12, 15 hours to get down there. And you just,
I heard
don't
some
feel
guys
bad
were
'cause-
driving 30 hours from California.
Yeah, man.
yeah,
Dang, boy.
that's insane.
Yeah,
there was
that is.
3 guys that all drove together. They pulled a trailer and they had 2 kayaks on a trailer and one in the back of the truck, and they drove 30 hours over here.
And if you're going to drive that far to a lake to bass fish, that's the lake to go to. Though.
It was, and
I mean, it sounds like it's worth it.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's the one.
In the top 10. I forget his name, but he was in the top 13.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he made a comeback.
It's even cooler. Well, it looks like they only got 28 signed up for that KBF event. I tossed up going to that one.
Go get it.
May have to, but I think I'm supposed to be
today.
putting together my nursery. I'm having a kid soon, so I'm supposed to be doing that this week.
Priorities, man. Priorities.
Yeah. So, anyways, we may be covering that next week. If not, we'll be finding something else. Appreciate you guys coming on. I appreciate you guys listening. Sticking
Thank
with
you.
us.
You have a good evening, man.
I appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
It's good.
Congratulations again, Joe. I'll see you around.
All right. I'll contact you and we'll hook up.
All right.
Yeah,
man.
it sounds like you got some club stuff you need to start getting in on, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Without further ado, I'm gonna close it down.
Adios.
Hope you guys have a good night.
Cheers, guys.
See ya. That's not.
We were up for an hour.